People think discipline looks loud. They think it looks like waking up at 4 a.m. and grinding hard non-stop. But real discipline usually happens in small moments nobody sees. The truth is, you might already be more disciplined than 99% of people and not even know it. In this video, I'll show you 5 powerful signs that prove your mindset is different, your habits are stronger, and you're built for success. Stay till the end, because sign number 5 is the most important. Think about all the projects people begin in January. The gym memberships, the diets, the books they're going to read, the skills they're going to learn. By February, most of those things are gathering dust. Why? Because people fall in love with the idea of doing something, not the actual doing of it. The beginning is always exciting. Everything feels fresh and possible. There's a rush that comes with starting something new, and the brain loves that rush. But then day 5 comes, day 10, day 30, and the rush is gone. And that's where most people walk away. But you've stayed before. Maybe you didn't stay perfectly. Maybe you stumbled or slowed down, but you came back. And that coming back, that stubborn return to what you committed to, is one of the truest forms of discipline that exists. A lot of people confuse motivation with discipline, and that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make in your life. Motivation is a feeling, and like all feelings, it comes and goes. It doesn't ask for your permission, and it doesn't check your schedule. But discipline is a decision. It's the quiet voice inside you that says, "We said we were going to do this, so we're going to do this." And the person who can hear that voice and actually listen to it is already operating on a level most people never reach. I want you to think about something right now. Think about a time in your life when you kept going even though you didn't feel like it. When you showed up, even though no one was watching, even though the reward felt a million miles away. Hold that memory. That wasn't nothing. That was discipline in its purest, most honest form. And you did it. Give yourself credit for that. This one is perhaps the most honest sign of all, and it's the one that most people will never admit to failing at. Because accountability is easy when there's an audience. It's easy to show up when your boss is watching, when your friends are going to ask you how it went. Anyone can perform for a crowd. That's not discipline. That's reputation management. Real discipline is what you do when nobody is watching. It's what happens between you and yourself in the quiet hours when the world is asleep and no one will ever know the difference. Think about the person who eats reasonably all the times their partner is around, but raids the kitchen the moment they're alone. Or the employee who works hard when the manager walks by, but slows down the second they're gone. That's not discipline, that's drama. And so much of what we call self-improvement in the modern world is actually just drama. We post our workouts, we announce our goals, we tell everyone what we're going to do, and sometimes, a lot of the time, that announcement is the most effort we ever put into it. But you've had moments where you held yourself to a standard even when no one was going to reward you for it. Maybe you told yourself you'd do something, and you did it quietly, without anyone knowing. Maybe you caught yourself being lazy or dishonest with yourself, and you corrected it, not because someone called you out, but because you couldn't allow being that person even in private. That is rare. That is genuinely rare. Most people only have standards when no standards have consequences. You have standards because somewhere along the way, you decided that who you are when no one is watching is who you actually are. And that is the foundation of real, lasting discipline. Let me paint you a picture. 2 people are trying to build a better life. They both know what they need to do. They both have access to the same information, the same hours in the day, the same basic resources. The difference is this: one of them is willing to be uncomfortable, and the other one isn't. That's it. That single difference, repeated over days and months and years, creates 2 completely different lives, 2 completely different people. And from the outside, It can look like one got lucky and the other didn't, but luck had nothing to do with it. Discomfort is the price of growth. This is not a new idea. Every wise person who ever lived has said some version of this truth, but knowing it and actually living it are two very different things. Because discomfort isn't just the gym when your legs are burning. Discomfort is sitting down to work on the thing that matters most when every part of you wants to do anything else. Discomfort is eating the plain meal when the tempting one is right there. Discomfort is still trying something new when failure is a real possibility. All of that is discomfort, and all of that is the road to becoming who you want to be. Here's what I've noticed about people who are truly disciplined. They don't pretend the discomfort isn't there and act like it doesn't hurt. They feel it just like everyone else, but they've made a quiet peace with it. They've accepted that the uncomfortable feeling, that voice saying, "Not today," is not a stop sign. It's just part of the journey. And when you stop treating discomfort as an enemy and start treating it as a signal that you're moving in the right direction, your whole relationship with growth changes. And if you've ever kept going through discomfort, even once, even imperfectly, you already know what that feels like. That was discipline talking to you, and you listened. Here's a test that will tell you almost everything about a person's future. Put something tempting in front of them and see if they can wait or say no. It sounds simple, but most people fail it every single day without even knowing they're being tested. We live in a world of instant everything. Instant food, instant entertainment, instant validation. The whole modern world has been engineered to make waiting feel unbearable. And so most people have lost the muscle, the waiting muscle. The ability to say, "not yet," and mean it. But here's what nobody tells you about the people who can wait. It's not that they don't desire these things. Actually, some of the most disciplined people I've ever heard of or read about want things just as badly as anyone else, sometimes more. But they've learned something that changes everything. They've learned that the short-term choice and the right choice are almost never the same thing. They understand, deep in their bones, that the candy bar right now costs them the meal they actually want later. That the hour of distraction right now costs them the life they actually want to build. You probably know this feeling already. That moment when you're about to reach for something, the phone, the snack, the easy way out. And there's this tiny pause, this small moment of hesitation where a voice inside you says, "Is this really what we want to do?" Most people don't have that pause. Their hand is already moving before the thought even forms. But you've felt that pause, haven't you? That little gap between the impulse and the action. That gap is everything. That gap is where your future lives. Every time you use it wisely, you are building something in yourself that money can't buy, that no school will teach you, and that most people will spend their whole lives wishing they had. We live in an age of overnight success stories. Everywhere you look, someone went from nothing to everything in 6 months. Someone built a business in a year. Someone got the body, the money, the life, and it seems like it happened in the blink of an eye. And so people get the idea that if their results aren't coming fast, something must be wrong. That they must be on the wrong path, or not talented enough, or missing some secret ingredient that everyone else seems to have. And so they quit. They try something new, and then they quit that too. And they spend years and decades running from one promising beginning to the next, never staying long enough to see what would have happened if they had just held on a little longer. This is one of the saddest patterns I know, not because those people are weak, they're not, but because they were so close, so many times, and they just didn't know it. But you've held on before. You've done something long enough to see it start to work. You've invested time and energy into yourself when there was no immediate payoff, no guarantee, no applause. You've kept a habit going through weeks when you saw no results. You've kept studying something when it seemed like it wasn't sinking in. And then one day, quietly, it started to click. That experience, that willingness to trust the process, even when the process feels invisible, is something that only a very small number of people ever develop. Most people quit before the magic happens. You didn't. And that willingness to play the long game is one of the highest expressions of discipline that exists. So let's bring this home, because I want to leave you with something that actually sticks. You've just heard 5 signs that you're more disciplined than most people on this planet. And if even 2 or 3 of them felt true when you heard them, if something inside you quietly said, "Yes, that's me," then I want you to understand what that means. It means you are already carrying something inside you that the world is desperately trying to buy, shortcut, and fake its way into. It means you are, in many ways, exactly where a person of real character should be, doing the quiet work, building the real foundation, playing the long game in a world that only wants the highlight reel. But I also want to say this gently, because I think it needs to be said. Having discipline doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It doesn't mean you never struggle, never fall off, never have a week where everything falls apart. In fact, the most disciplined people I've ever read about or encountered are also some of the most honest about their failures, because they know that discipline isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a direction you keep choosing. Every day you wake up and you choose it again. And some days the choice is easy, and some days it costs you everything you have. And both of those days count. Both of those days are building you. Don't compare your discipline to anyone else's highlight reel. Don't measure yourself against the person online who seems to have everything together all the time, because no one has everything together all the time. Measure yourself against who you were yesterday, against the vision you carry in your heart of the person you're trying to become. That is the only competition worth entering. That is the only race with a finish line that actually matters. You are more disciplined than you give yourself credit for. And the fact that you're here, that you chose to spend this time on something that feeds your mind rather than numbing it, that already tells me something about you. Keep going. Not perfectly, but keep going. One honest choice and quiet act of discipline at a time. That's how real people build real lives. And you are already doing it.